When Wyatt was born, he was little, but he was healthy. They said he's perfectly fine, he's normal. And then
it was the day we were being discharged. That Thursday, he wouldn't eat for me. And he was very, almost lethargic. He was just, you know, tired. He wouldn't hardly even open up his eyes. And then Friday morning is when we got the call that he was sick and that there was something wrong.
As soon as they said transfer to CMC Maine, obviously we're very naive. This is our first child. We didn't know what a staph infection was.
And that was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? We're going to another hospital with him, and his first ride is going to be in an ambulance, not in our car. And I mean, first-time parents, that was just devastating.
We were in shock, true shock. Just, you know, and had no clue the seriousness of what he was up against.
They met us at the doors first day coming in the NICU and said, you know, they took us in this little side room, about the size of a big janitorial closet, and sat us down and said, you know, it's not looking good for your son. We're not sure that he's going to pull through this. And for a parent, that's the worst possible thing you could ever hear. Ever. We
got there late Saturday, and, you know, he was really sick, and he was intubated at that point. And that was really, really sad to see, you know, him like that, and know he's in pain and there's nothing you can do for him as a parent.
Well, it was actually very traumatic and rapid. He went from, you know, this perfect little small baby boy, you know, 3 pounds, 15 ounces. Then the swelling started to take over, and then he went from, you know, just tiny, you know, perfect little boy to just completely swollen. In a couple days.
Scott was taking me to the NIC unit, the ICU unit, and he says, now Mom, he said, I need to tell you, he says, Wyatt doesn't look anything like you remember him when he was born. I just want you to kind of be prepared. And when I walked up and saw this little tiny thing that wasn't so tiny anymore, like I said, he was swollen, he was blue and purple, and it didn't even look like Wyatt.
He was swelled up, and he was just a gray color. He didn't look like a real baby.
I mean, it was almost inhuman, honestly. I mean, here's this little boy laying here that is so swollen. He's completely blue and purple and yellow. When he'd lay his head on his side, all the fluid would run to one side, so his whole face was distorted and his head was distorted, and you can just tell. I mean, anytime he would try to move, it was just agonizing. Even as much as moving his fingers, you know, it seems like moving his wrist or moving his fingers, just, you know, having him grab your little finger or something, he would just grimace.
I truly think at that moment, they didn't think he'd make it that night.
You know, we had faith in this hospital system. We had faith in this doctor, in these doctors, and we felt like we'd been, you know, really let down and really crushed.
It's hard for me to see my big son cry. He was just so afraid that his son would not make it.
Total fear. Yeah, they were living one day at a time. One hour at a time. You know, and they'd say, Mom, he's worse, or, you know, we still don't know too much. They're trying this because this isn't working. They're trying another drug because that's not working. Or he has to go to surgery for this problem. It was never ending for 4.5 months.
Oh, wow. I mean, it was traumatic. You know, I mean, for both of us. You know, this is our firstborn son, firstborn child. And nobody wants their child to go through pain. To have to come in and first thing in this world, and you're fighting right off the bat. We kind of made a deal right there, you know, that he's going to come through this, and no matter what we have to deal with, we're more than willing to do that, and we want that opportunity. Just let us keep our son.
For the first time that they told me that there was something wrong, that we needed to do surgery, it never hit I didn't even think about it. I didn't think, oh, my thought was that we get past this, you know, infection, we'll be good. You know, we can go on. I never thought what the infection was doing to him. You know, sepsis went everywhere. His wrist was dropping, and that's when the infection actually had done the damage in his right elbow. So when the elbow was the first part, later on, after an x-ray was taken on his abdomen, that's when we found out even more.
You know, and there were so many hip surgeries and jaw surgeries, and it was almost like we would go through one, he would just start to heal from it, you know, and start, okay, we're starting to make a little progress here, and then bam, you know, they're hitting him again, and he's right back down again.
What the infection did to his jaw on the left side is it actually ate part of that TMJ joint on the left side, to where he had to debride it and clean it out.
To see him like that, just, and then when you would go back in and you would see him, and then he would have this cast on his arm, and then he had this full body cast on his body, and you're sitting there thinking, how can this little thing survive all this?
It was a very intense schedule of surgeries. I mean, and each one of them came with their own challenges or problems, you know, where he would come back cold from the operating room, you know, body temperature 93 degrees. I mean, that's cold, you know, so we'd have to bundle him up, and it's like we were constantly fighting just to put out these fires as they came up. So
in total, an entire time being in a NICU was 4.5 months.
It was a roller coaster. It really was. You know, I think the day that they brought Wyatt home, they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe they were actually stepping out of a building into fresh air and actually was going to get to take this baby home. And at the same time, somewhat scared.
Wyatt, I think, is very independent. And I almost think to a certain degree that this stuff that has happened to him has kind of made him that way.
He's such a unique person, you know, and I can honestly say I've never met anybody like him. You know, if anybody has a right to be angry and just completely ticked off at this world, it's him. But he's the happiest kid you'll ever see, you know, and it's such an inspiration to a lot of people. You know, here he is, hips are gone, you know, elbow messed up, can't see in an eye, you know, deaf in one ear, and he just keeps right on, and he keeps smiling.
The first steps that he took, and I'll never forget it, was at my house, and he's been wide open ever since.
He's got all the energy in the world, but unfortunately, you know, after so long of playing or walking to all these doctor's appointments and whatever, you know, he can only do so much.
As much traveling as he has to do every day. He's in that car seat, and he gets tired, and it's just tough on him because his little day is not like normal playing, but every day he has to do something.
He has such a great attitude that you can't, you know, you can't be too upset about it. But there's days when I know he doesn't want to do it. He's had it his entire life. He doesn't like Band-Aids. My daughter loves Band-Aids. She said, you got a boo-boo, you need a Band-Aid. And Wyatt would rather put his hand in hot fire than have a Band-Aid.
He associates that with going to the hospital and having a surgery and the pain and the, you know, 4-year-old child shouldn't have to know that.
It's a constant battle to keep him from being sick with the trach, and I mean, it's a very hectic schedule. You can't go to sleep at night without having someone in your home watching him, you know, in case something happens. You can't take your child to the beach without being completely paranoid about sand.
You know, those are the things you just have to worry about and know where your hospitals are, and thank goodness for GPS that will tell you that when you're ever out somewhere, and always have his supplies with you and have his trach bag that is attached to your hip at all times.
It's scary, you know, and to know that it's hard on Wyatt and it's hard on April and I, because there's so few people that we can depend on to call who we feel comfortable and have been trained enough to know how to handle Wyatt in case something goes wrong.
A nurse comes at 10 o'clock every night to look after him, and if he continues with this trach, it will always be that way.
Stability, some type of stability back in life would be incredible.
They work with him, they teach him, they do everything they can to make his life normal.
You know, everybody tells you, and we believe it too, that, you know, special needs children are given to the people who can handle it. And there's many days when we sit there and go, I don't know if we can handle this.
He gets up bright and early. It's either 6:30 or 7. During the day, we just play, go to the library, go to our therapies, go to the playground in the midst of going to our therapies.
It's a job, and April has that job every day. She's like she says, she's a soccer mom, but she's a therapy mom because every day she's got some type of therapy and she's got a schedule and she better stay on it.
Ladybug, where's the ladybug go? This is my hardest thing with him, is getting him to functionally participate in an activity. It's like he'll sit here and line these up, but it takes a really long time for us to finally do the activity the right way. Okay, put him in. Good job, Wyatt. This is motor planning right here. I'm trying to figure out how to open it. And he should have that motor plan to be able to independently open the tongs. And he's just trying to slide it in there. Okay, Wyatt, look, we're gonna open. He doesn't have the typical range of motion and strength like other kids, so he has to recruit different patterns to do stuff. So he has to come up with a different way to do it. Like, it can also be due to his decreased attention, increased impulsivity. An activity that Wyatt wants to do, like playing with the bugs or animals or a toy that he likes, he can sustain attention to it for a long period of time. But if it's something that's challenging that he doesn't like, that activities we're gonna face in school, then we can't attend to it and have a hard time. We're all done? Wyatt's learned to compensate a lot, but given his age and the things that he should be doing, his level of attention and play skills, self-care tasks, he does not demonstrate age-appropriate independence. He has really learned to compensate, and that's where like he's used his arms to do a lot of things for himself, but he's not doing as a typical child his age would be doing. From my perspective, the biggest hurdle from OT perspective is attention to task and following directions is the biggest hurdle for him. And safety awareness, like you have to constantly be on him to make sure that we're doing things safe.
Wyatt doesn't know any fear. He just doesn't know. I mean, he'd jump off something, or he'll go up a step, or he'll climb to swing out over something that he's really not even capable of doing. I mean, I've seen him take a pretty good lick.
It's like he doesn't get that things can really hurt him. He doesn't have that understanding. And you know, when I tell my daughter to be careful, or I yell at her to come back, she gets it. And why it's a lot more, you have to be a lot stronger with him, because he'll just run right into the street, or he'll run into anything and not think twice about it and just deal with it when it gets to it.
We're working a lot on leg strength. He's definitely got some weakness in his lower extremities. His gait pattern is definitely is different. Stairs, a lot of gross motor skills, kicking, riding a tricycle, going up and down stairs. From preschool, my biggest concern of it is going to be from a safety standpoint, climbing on and off equipment on the playground. He tends to go very quickly. He's kind of impulsive. Sitting on the floor, they do a lot of floor time. He's not able to sit crisscross on the floor, crisscross applesauce like children would on mats in a preschool. Might be a little... He doesn't have your typical ball and socket joint at the hip. Looking at him, I do see gait deviations. I see weakness in his lower extremities. Therefore, we're delayed in some of our gross motor skill areas. So, kicking a ball, standing on one leg, going up and down stairs, 1 foot on each step, propelling a tricycle. So you see we're a little weak in our hip flexors. Step on blue. We have to kind of cock that foot up and around. Step on blue. Okay. So he wants to kind of go up this way instead of bringing the foot straight up, which is that weakness on the front. So right now we definitely need to use a rail to come down. And I'm looking for at least step 2, if not alternating steps at this age without the use of a rail. Come back, please. So with that impulsivity comes, it makes me nervous as far as a safety standpoint. Because you take your eye off and he's up the stairs, which is something that he's still needing a rail to do. He's not quite safe by himself yet. And just recently, we've really started coming along with this. That's huge for him. This is big time. Now, the next task with this would be being able to independently steer. So again, we're visually distracted, so steering independently is going to be an issue.
I mean, he does fall pretty easily, and I just try to keep longer shorts on him. But, you know, I mean, he's fallen at school and busted his lip from tripping on one thing or another, or he his mind's moving quicker than his feet's wanting to move, and the central vision we know is affected in his right eye. From what his doctor said in the NICU from the very beginning, he said it's going to be affected. But he has profound hearing loss in the right ear to the point where he wouldn't hear anything out of that ear until it was like the sound of a train or a sound of a jet.
But communication-wise, you know, he's finally starting to say, you know, bye-bye and butterfly and those kind of things. I mean, obviously, we want him to talk. It's difficult for him, but I think it's as much frustrating for him because he knows what he wants to say. He knows what he wants. He knows what he wants to tell you. He just can't.
You know, even watching him try to have a conversation with my daughter, it's very limited in what he can say. He can repeat what she does or initiate things and try to say something. And Kaylee is better at trying to figure out what it is. But another child that's just met him is not going to know that. Let's be a good boy. Listen.
You can tell by when he comes up to you and he's looking at you and he's trying to go through his mind so many things what he wants to say, and his signs just can't come out quick enough. You know, it just seems like he's this mind and this mind trapped in this body that is just incapable of producing what his mind is capable of.
What do airplanes do? They go... That's right, and do it again. Up. One more time. Up. Thank you. Good job. His talking is up till now has been So we're working on getting up and bug and ball. What's in the other box? Can you tell him what's in this box? Bugs, which was saying his name or what his family calls him, which is Bubba, was his first word that came out through his mouth. And we're also working on awareness and ability to have food in his mouth. Tongue out.
Her biggest thing she wants me to do is have him just to get that tongue out, stick his tongue out.
Good. We work on chewing non-food to get the strength and the sensation for the tongue with something in between the teeth that the tongue has to touch, and kind of get used to having that sensation in the mouth. All right, 1920. Good job.
She said it's like he doesn't even know what he's supposed to do with his mouth. How do you even chew? You know, the muscle's there. I mean, he can chew on things, but he can't crunch and swallow. I mean, that's a whole nother ball game that we're trying to work on too.
Where's your tongue? There he is. Do it again.
He's always, even before he started with her, imitated a song. Like he could sing it, but it would all be like that, as opposed to trying to mouth the words or ba 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 ba. So it's almost still like a infant baby babble that he does. And usually he'll either point to something if he says it, or if he points to a ball. You know, I tell him to try to say it or tell me ball, one thing or another. Now also he does have what's called a springboard light. It's a communication device. Now that is something that we're going to use within the school. His vocabulary, he may say something, I may know what it means, but a person walks down the road will have no idea what he's talking about. I remember what he had done, the jaw distraction, the first time he had it done as an infant, and I remember how painful it was. He was intubated for a week, and every time that they would clean around it or turn it, he would turn, one of his NICU nurses would call it eggplant.
I can't imagine that level of pain. I mean, he's been through so much and has so much more to continue.
I've seen a couple of the surgeries and been with him when they did the surgery on his jaw and stuff. And it makes you hurt so bad for him, because you know his whole life is going to be this. And it shouldn't be. They've said at some point in time, once his body weight gets more that his hips and stuff won't support it, he'll be in a wheelchair. It will hurt me knowing that he was this active little boy and now he can't be.
To know what he's going to be like at age 10, I mean, we were just talking about the other day, at age 10, I wonder, is he going to look like a 5-year-old? I mean, he's definitely going to be short.
You know, Wyatt's small, he walks different, he can't talk. You know, he can't communicate with kids.
So it's going to be tough on Wyatt, yes. Once he realizes he's different. Right now, he doesn't realize he's different. But he's going, the older he gets, and especially when he gets in school, he's going to realize he's different.
Telephone? Are you saying uncle? Uncle? What are you saying? Uncle. Here. Hello?
Any kid's life is difficult already, but you throw all this stuff on top of it, and it makes it that much worse. I mean, I can't imagine what he's going to go through.
And through it all, as amazed as I am that Wyatt came through what he came through, I'm still amazed at Scott and April, how they came through it.
If anybody could take care of Wyatt, it's them.
I think they're upset, but I don't think they're bitter. But they realize that they have to protect Wyatt at all costs, you know, for the rest of his life, pretty much.
He's a very special little boy, and he deserves better than what he's been dealt.